Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Jupiter's CROCK. My name is Matthew. Joining me tonight is the asshole formerly known as Spartacus, Steve.
If I'm not Ploticus anymore, that means one of you has to do the synopsis.
No, you're still Ploticus. You're assholicus on top of it. And we have, down there in Memphis, finally deciding to get home from a long day's work. Making us late to record is Ronan.
I gave you the option yesterday. 2 hours advance notice that it could be done on the normal time frame.
Could. That's the key word there. Could.
Yeah.
We're not on call, Ronan.
Yeah, we're not you, Ronan. We're not on call.
We're either doing it or we're not. Silence.
That's just shifting the blame. You're shifting the blame. I gave you full options for it, and you took a risk and you lost. You lost that hand.
All right, folks. Speaking of people taking risks and losing, we're going to talk about Delicate Things, the latest episode of Spartacus: Blood and Sand. Spartacus, he gets it rough in this one. Let's turn it over to Ploticus. Take it away.
This is the episode where I have to stop supporting Batiatus, if that tells you anything. So the episode starts with Spartacus being heralded as the new champion of Capua, and Crixus is in the basement just bleeding out. Basically, it looks like this happened this must start right after the death of Theocles, because it's Crixus hasn't even been wiped down yet. He is still just in this grimy basement covered in blood. And but Spartacus is the new champion of Capua, and so everyone is celebrating the bringer run out. Everyone is just scheming against everyone else, and so I'm gonna talk about kind of each scheme individually, because there's no way I can cover the actual order the show shows this. But you basically have Spartacus, who thinks he is a master planner, a master schemer, a master manipulator, and then you have Batiatus, who is actually a master manipulator, and then high up on the mountain above all of them you have Asher, who is the god tier master manipulator. Asher is so amazing in this episode. Anyways, so Spartacus.
Asher's a great bad guy.
He is fantastic. Let's talk about what Spartacus is trying to do in this episode. But Batiatus tells him, hey, good news, we found your wife. Your wife is on the way. And Spartacus is like, finally, I'm going to get reunited. And then Oenomaus takes him to his new room, the little one-bed room that he gets now as the champion of Capua. And he's like, oh, where will my wife sleep? And Oenomaus tells him, she's not. She doesn't get to stay with you. This is the point where Spartacus kind of the wheels start turning. He's like, wait a minute. We're not going to be free at all. We're just both going to be slaves from now on.
But
so Spartacus
Oenomaus does say, look, man, you just keep doing what you're doing, and you're going to earn enough coin for you guys' freedom.
Yeah. Oenomaus tells Spartacus, if you keep winning in the arena, you will eventually, be able to essentially buy your freedom. But that's not good enough for Spartacus, so he starts catching a plan. And there's this great scene where it's the next day, and it's Spartacus and Vero. Good old Vero. They're out on this cliff that this ludus is built on top of, and they're talking. And Vero can Spartacus starts asking questions which what are the roads leading from this ludus to
which
just
road does no one
directions?
go down? If you were trying to go down a road with a screaming hostage, which one would you pick?
How well traveled are the roads? And Vero's like, wait a minute. He could see. Vero knows Spartacus so well at this point. Vero knows that Spartacus is up to some shit. So Spartacus is planning on escaping, taking Sura and escaping. And so this whole episode, Spartacus is kind of refining his plan. And you see daydreams. Spartacus is imagining what he's going to do, and his plans are fucking stupid. His original plan is he is just
Which
going
Vero
to
points out multiple
Kill
times.
them all.
His plan is just he's going to get a sword and just break out of the ludus. And Vero's like, okay, where are you going to get a sword? And Spartacus is like, well, I'll figure something out. And then Vero's like, okay, well, what are you going to do about Doctore? Because Doctore is the only one you can't beat Doctore is basically what Vero's telling him.
Yeah.
Spartacus is like, I'll figure something out. So he keeps just putting things off, but he does start putting together an actual plan. Batiatus takes him into the city, and Batiatus plans to give Spartacus like special armor to recognize Spartacus as the new champion. So Spartacus is like, wait a minute, this will give me an edge against Doctore. And so Spartacus says, hey, I really want to impress my wife when she gets here, so how about you let me wear this armor in front of her? And Batiatus says yes. And so now Spartacus is like, okay, well now I need to have a weapon, because Vero pointed out that all of the actual swords, besides like the wooden practice swords, are locked up. And so Spartacus takes the opportunity to invite Numerius and the magistrate who ran the games where Spartacus killed Theocles. Apparently that old guy's grandson is obsessed with Spartacus now, and so they run into each other. Spartacus runs into the magistrate.
He's obsessed with the gladiators. That's when we first met him.
But he really likes Spartacus at this point because Spartacus is the champion. And so Numerius, I think this is the kid's name, shows up and says, hey, Spartacus, check out this cool dagger I found. I was told, like, this is the weapon of a warrior.
Thracian dagger.
Yep. And so Spartacus is like, hey, you know what? You're so obsessed with gladiators now. How about you come by Batiatus's ludus later, and I will give you a private lesson in fighting and swordplay and whatnot. And Batiatus is thrilled because like fuck yeah, Spartacus is putting the money moves on the big magistrate, putting in work. Batiatus says, I'll make you a fucking Roman yet. You could see that look in Spartacus's eyes. He didn't like that. But now Spartacus's plan is he has the one-on-one sparring match with Numerius, and then he convinces Numerius to basically drop his dagger in this giant weight belt that this little kid's wearing for some reason. And so Spartacus steals the dagger when no one's looking. And so now Spartacus has an actual weapon, and now Spartacus has armor that he thinks will give him a chance against basically everyone else in the ludus if they try to fight him, especially Doctore. So he's putting this plan in place. And another point is Vero asks him, okay, like, are you just going to walk on foot all the way to another country out of Roman lands? And Spartacus says, no, my wife is arriving by carriage. I'm going to take one of those horses. And all throughout the episode, you see Spartacus like daydreaming how this ridiculous, stupid fucking plan he has is going to go.
Well, I love every time they do that. When the kind of like that daydream flash forward ends, it just is a cut to Vero's face, who's just like, this is the dumbest shit I've ever heard in my life.
The dumbest thing I've ever heard. But to his credit, Spartacus is now like kind of coming. He's fixing all of the things that Vero's pointing out. So now Spartacus has a weapon. Now Spartacus has he has armor. Now he knows how to get a horse. And so Spartacus further decides, you know what, this would be much easier if I just drug everyone. And so Spartacus goes to Batiatus and says, hey, to celebrate me being the new champion of Capua, I would like to buy booze and women for everyone.
Wine and whores. Wine and whores for the men.
And so Batiatus says, yeah, hey, you're helping me out. You're keeping the ludus happy. A happy ludus, happy dominus. Let's do this. And so now Spartacus is like, okay, so now I've got armor, I've got a weapon, I've got a horse. Everyone's going to be too drunk or too hungover to stop me. The last thing is Doctore. And so Spartacus has a plan for Doctore now. He goes down to Crixus, who is, again, bleeding out in the basement. And Spartacus at first thanks him, like, thank you, Crixus. If not for you, I would be dead. Sorry about this. And he like jabs Crixus in his open wound.
Oh my god, what a dick!
So he's like purposely like harming Crixus to distract the medicus so that he can identify like the numbing anesthetic whatever they had back in ancient Rome, and so he grabs some of that, and he is going to.
He grabs like a handful of.
He grabs like a handful.
He's got to put a lot in Onomaeus' drink, man.
He
no careful
Onomaeus,
measurement, no nothing. Just
no. Oh. Spartacus roofies Onomaeus, and it knocks Onomaeus out. So now the plan is in place. The last part that he hasn't accounted for is Vero says, what about the gates? How are you going to get past the gates? And furthermore, once you actually get out of the ludus, what's going to stop people from coming after you? And so Spartacus says, Batiatus will order them to. And so now you have the final version of Spartacus's plan, where Spartacus fights everyone, he beats everyone. All of the other gladiators in Onomaeus are drunk or hungover or unconscious. He's going to take Batiatus hostage, and Batiatus will order people to leave him alone, and then Spartacus is just going to ride off into the sunset with his wife. That is Spartacus's plan from start to finish. It starts out incredibly stupid. It ends up mostly stupid, but he made progress, right?
Bullshit.
Well,
is there any other part of Spartacus's plan that we need to touch on?
The plan, no. I do think it's kind of interesting when Vero is talking to him. There's a certain point when Vero starts realizing, he's actually starting to put this all together. He's overcoming all of the things that he needs to overcome, and I love the moment when Vero's like, dude, I have a wife and kid, I can't help you here. And Spartacus is sort of yeah, I know, man. That was a cool moment to me, because obviously Vero, you would think Vero will help him escape, but no, Vero's got too much to lose, and even though it's his friend, he's like, I love you, man, but my wife and kids I love more, and I can't help you on this. Please don't do this.
Spartacus I got you. Fist bump with deuces, and it's it's good.
Yeah, the big question will be, would this plan have succeeded had not the outcome, had the outcome not have happened?
We'll tie all this together at the end, but the plan was falling apart immediately when it was go time.
Well, because Onomaeus is more man than pretty much anyone else there. Really, he would have needed at least 2 handfuls of roofie drug to maybe actually properly knock him out. But because he wakes up way too fucking early. Had that not happened,
he's got a pissed off look on his face too.
Had that not happened, I think he probably would have gotten out of the ludus. Now, I mean, obviously he would have been tracked down and killed. He would have never and then he made it back to Thrace. Well, he would have been tracked down and killed. But I think he would have made it out of the ludus.
To be fair though, Onomaeus, yes, he woke up, but is he in fighting shape? Could Spartacus
he thought he was in fighting shape.
Yeah. Could Spartacus have taken him a weakened Onomaeus down?
I think he would have been in enough fighting shape to have, with the rest of the guards, messed him up. I think had Onomaeus not woken up, I think he could have gotten out of the ludus. Again, he would have been tracked down and killed.
There was
instantly.
never a scenario he could have escaped. There was never he could have escaped the ludus. There was never a scenario where he was going to escape Rome.
Yeah, because he said that he was going to take Batiatus up into the hills, and he was going to let Batiatus go once he was far enough away that they could make their escape.
Yeah, don't buy it. Don't think it was going to happen. Anyways, so that's scheme 1. Let's talk about what fucking Asher was up to, because Asher is a son of a bitch. So Asher, here's what Asher has going on. Asher owes Barca a shitload of money because Barca placed a bet on Crixus and Spartacus to beat the Shadow of Death, and they won. And so Asher has been dodging Barca this whole time, and Barca's Barca's plan is he is going to use this money, these earnings, to buy freedom for both himself and the Red RPM Ranger. And so Barca is constantly going to Asher, where's my money? You better have my money. It's not going. It's
about to turn into the Brian and Stewie gag from Family Guy. Where's my money?
Yes.
Where's my money? That's what's going to happen to Asher.
But and there's this great scene where Asher is trying to sneak away from Barca, but Barca catches him, and Asher's like, "Oh, Barca, my dear friend, I was just coming to look for you." And Barca's like,
Good
"I
Barca.
don't care about this. Give me my money, or I'm gonna break your other leg and your dick." So Asher has to go figure shit out. And so Asher's plan to get out of the debt that he owes Barca is, well, first of all, he spies on Barca. Ovidius's family was murdered by Barca and Batiatus, and the last episode left in question, like, what happened to Ovidius's kid. You never see what happens to his kid, and so like, rumors of this are going around the Ludus, and so Red RPM Ranger asked Barca, like, "Did you kill this kid?" And Barca's like, "No, I you know how I feel about delicate things. I took the kid out into the countryside and left him there, and by the time anyone finds him, we'll have bought our freedom and we'll be gone. They'll never find us." And so Red RPM Ranger is, like, thrilled. The man he loves is not a child murderer, at least. He's a murderer. He's not a kid murderer, and that counts for a lot.
There's a line.
Asher
Everyone's
overhears
got a line.
this. Yes, Asher overhears this, and so Asher hatches a plan. He sends there's this a couple episodes ago when they were trying to figure out who tried to kill Batiatus in the pit. There's this, like, real scuzzy looking guy with, like, I don't know, a rash all over his face, and Asher goes back to him, and the plan is, when Spartacus is giving this private lesson to Numerius at the Ludus, a random messenger comes up and says, "Hey, Clavicus," I think that's the old guy's name, "we found Ovidius's kid. You know, there was a survivor." And Batiatus, you can see the look on his face. He is fucking terrified. It's like, "Oh no, like, what if he identifies Barca? Blah blah blah." And so Numerius and Clavicus, or whatever his name is, they go off to see this, and now Batiatus has to figure out, what the fuck? Why didn't Barca kill this kid like I told him? And so Asher tells Batiatus, because Asher is the master manipulator, tells Batiatus, "Hey, Barca's not going to give you a straight answer. Ask the Red RPM Ranger. He'll be straight with you." And so Red RPM Ranger talks to Batiatus, and Batiatus is, like, pretending like, "Yay, I wanted Ovidius to die because he tried to kill me, but Barca basically went rogue and wiped out Ovidius's entire family, plus the kid. It's like, I could live
Think
with
of the
death.
children.
Yeah, I could live with the death of all of the adults, but my conscience to think that Barca may have killed this kid in my name." And Red RPM Ranger's like, "Oh no, he didn't kill the kid. He didn't kill the kid. He let the kid live. He could never hurt a child." And Batiatus is like, "Oh, thank you. That puts my mind at rest," and sends the RPM Ranger away. And Asher's right there to, like, worm tongue Batiatus, like, "Oh, now we know what Barca's really like." And so Barca comes back to talk to Dominus, and Asher tells him, "Hey, I'll make you a deal, Barca. Let me, like, basically negotiate on your behalf for your freedom, and in return, you cut what I owe you in half." And Barca's like, "Fine, whatever. I just want to get this done. You get to keep half the money you owe me if you give me a good deal on my freedom," which apparently is a thing you could just go and negotiate. But when Barca goes to Batiatus, Batiatus confronts him like, "Hey, you told me you killed the kid." And Barker's like, "I did kill the kid." And so, well, why
I am a child killer.
Yes. It's like, well, okay, well, why did you tell Red RPM Ranger that you didn't kill the kid? It's like, I love this man. He's like, delicate. He could never look at me the same way again if I told him that I actually killed this kid. And so, Batiatus is like, "Well, how do you explain the fact that apparently someone found the kid out in the countryside?" And Barker's like, that's impossible. I killed the kid." And so now you're in a situation where Barca was lying at some point. Was he lying to Red RPM Ranger, or was he lying to Batiatus? Well, we never... they don't get to have that conversation because Asher just pulls out a fucking dagger and stabs Barca in the back.
Well, the key to this scene is, if you see Batiatus, after Barca is, like, giving his explanation, there's that hesitancy, because Batiatus tells Asher, he's like, "I want to talk to Barca face to face. I want to look in his eyes, and I want to find out if he's actually lying about all this stuff." And there's that just brief moment when you can see that Batiatus is kind of buying what Barca's saying, and then they cut to
Barca's
Asher's
story
face.
makes sense.
Yeah, and then Asher's face, he's getting very worried that this is going to turn, and then that's when he pulls out the fucking dagger. He's like, ah!
Yeah. He pulls out the dagger, and Batiatus doesn't see this, but all of the guards do, but they just immediately like turn on Barca. Like, no one says anything about Asher stabbing Barca. Regardless, Asher stabs Barca in the back with a dagger, which causes Barca to start fighting everyone. And so the Batiatus and his guards eventually beat down Barca and kill him. And immediately upon the death of Barca, Clavicus, the magistrate, comes back again, and he's like, Batiatus, I'm fucking mad. There's gonna be blood. And Batiatus is like, oh shit. What happened, dear friend magistrate? And the magistrate says, that messenger who came and said the boy was alive, he lied. Like, we just found the boy's body in the burnt rubble. The boy is dead. And so Batiatus is like, oh, that's terrible. We're definitely going to find the messenger that set all this up. Later on, you find out that the messenger has been killed, and Asher tells the guy with the rash, it's like, hey, the messenger is dead. Everyone that knows about this is dead except you, so if this gets out, I'm going to know to come find you, and you'll be dead as well. But Batiatus is like, well, fuck. Barca was telling the truth. Shit. Tell everyone that Barca bought his freedom and left. They immediately covered up. But Asher has basically won. Asher played Barca against everyone and killed the man he owed money to, fucked over one of the gladiators that had been giving him shit for, I guess, 6 years at this point. Asher faces no downside from his scheming here. Asher basically won this episode. Asher has achieved everything that he wants, and there's this great/terrible scene where it's like the next morning, and Red RPM Ranger sees Asher and says, "Hey, what happened to Barca? Barca didn't come back to his room last night." And Asher's like, "Oh, he's fine. He's already bought his freedom and left." And RPM Ranger is like,
he's eating like nuts while he's doing it.
Fucking
He's like laughing like, oh.
And yeah, he's like, so RPM Ranger's like, well, wait a minute, he was supposed to buy my freedom too. And Asher says, oh, sorry, I couldn't get you a good deal. He could only afford freedom for one of you, and so he bought freedom for himself and left. But don't worry, he'll move on. He'll find someone else.
Someone he doesn't have to pay
is
for.
Fucking devastated.
Yeah.
And Asher is just laughing and eating fucking blueberries or nuts or whatever he has. Asher is
He's always
amazing
eating something.
and terrible. But anyways, so that's Asher's story. Asher has won. At this point, Asher has wiped out the debt that he owes and killed one of his biggest enemies. And the Batiatus trusts him more than ever at this point.
Yep.
Sorry, so the last scheme, the most awful, terrible scheme, somehow worse than what happened to Barca, is Batiatus' plans. And so I'm going to talk about the plans, but a question that I want to come back to is, do you think this was always the plan, or did Xena worm-tongue Batiatus into doing this? Anyways, so Batiatus has a meeting with Xena early on, at the moment where Batiatus tells Spartacus, hey, your wife's on the way. Good news. Xena's not happy about this. Xena tries to tell Batiatus, the only thing keeping Spartacus in line was the fact that, we were holding his wife over his head. What's he going to do when his wife is here? And Batiatus thinks, he's going to be so grateful that he's just going to continue to faithfully serve us, and Xena doesn't buy it. Xena, smartest character in the series, doesn't buy that Spartacus is going to just be a good little gladiator slave and continue to serve Batiatus, and she's 100% fucking right about that. So, what happens at the end of the episode? What ties all of this together? Spartacus has drugged everyone. He's planning on taking Batiatus hostage. He's got a weapon. He's got armor. everything is going Spartacus's way except for the fact that Dr. Onomaus woke up a little too early. The carriage with Spartacus's wife rolls in. Spartacus is walking towards the carriage. He notices that Onomaus is he's woken up as well. Vero, another good Vero moment. Vero kind of tries to distract Onomaus. Vero throws like this Hail Mary, and Onomaus just like shuts him down, just pushes him away. So it looks like Spartacus is going to have to fight Onomaus to get his wife. Unfortunately, we never get to that point because the carriage driver is injured. He's covered in blood, and he says they attacked us on the road. And Spartacus is like, oh no. And so Spartacus runs to the back of the carriage and finds his wife. She's been stabbed. She dies in his arms. And Batiatus walks away, and he goes up to Xena, and he's like, oh, look at that. The promise has been kept. And gives her like a look. And Xena looks horrified, like, holy shit, he did that? He's like been promising Spartacus his wife for, I assume, months at this point, and he fucking murdered her. But then she gets like a smile on her face because she's like, ah shit, that's my boy, that's my husband.
Yeah.
So Batiatus has arranged to have Sura killed, and I believe the intention is, one, Batiatus can say to Spartacus, hey, I kept my word, I kept my promise, but also Spartacus basically has nothing left but the ludus at this point. He has nothing left but his fame as a gladiator, and so Batiatus, of course, expects Spartacus to just go all in on being a gladiator because that's what he's got, and that's the end of the episode. So the question I have to you two is, was this always the plan? Because there's early on when Batiatus is talking to Xena, Batiatus seems genuine. He never tells Xena, hey, this is my plan, this is what I'm going to do. And this is after Xena criticized him for keeping secrets from her, if not early on this episode, then in the previous episode. So there's an argument for Batiatus was going to be a good guy, and then Xena convinced him. Alternatively, if this wasn't always the plan, I have no idea how Batiatus would have gotten a message to the driver that the plan was changing.
I think this was always the plan. In terms of what Batiatus had schemed, I think that once he probably initially didn't even think he'd be able to find Spartacus's wife first. He's probably like, oh yeah, sure, I'll look for her. And then when he actually finds her, he realizes, hey, man, the bringer of rains, I'm going to have so much money now, there's no way that I can sort of let this go. But interestingly enough, on the audio commentary track, one of the actors, I think it was the actress who played Sura, she actually asked Stephen DeKnight what the plan was and what he thought. And he thought that initially Batiatus was not going to kill her in that way, and that he sort of came to that over time, realizing that that's kind of what needed to happen. And they had actually even talked about having Sura be part of the show going forward and what kind of dynamic that would be. But ultimately they're like, no, she's got to die in order for Spartacus's story to move forward. So, yeah, I definitely don't think that Xena knew what the plan was, because when he walks away from her, her face is still completely horrified. She's like, what? I think she immediately is like, okay, yeah.
I definitely don't think she knew. There's points in either direction for whether or not this was always the plan, or he changed the plan after Xena said, you can't trust Spartacus, because Xena has been consistently right about Spartacus. And so this is the episode. This is an amazing episode. Another fantastic episode. Another fucking winner. But I've been saying since we started with Gods of the Arena, I love Batiatus. I want to root for Batiatus, even though I know he is this terrible person. This is the episode where I can't do that anymore. Batiatus is firmly established
you can
as a
still
villain.
root for him.
I can't.
Steve, my favorite villain of all time is Emperor Palpatine. I can still root for him, even though I know what's going to happen. You can root
I
for
can't
Batiatus.
do it. Like at the end of the Thing in the Pit, episode 4, it was like Batiatus and Spartacus, like they're not friends. They're still very definitely master and slave, but there was an understanding, like maybe
Respect.
even a bond, a respect. Like they had both protected one another at different points in time.
Yeah.
And then Batiatus, he does the unforgivable here.
Now we talked on a previous episode about, well, maybe people should watch Gods of the Arena first before they get here. I think this would be a point in which you could be argued, now you should watch Blood and Sand first, because we know what kind of schemer he is. At the time, like you said, when we first started watching it, we weren't exactly sure. Like, is he kind of a good guy? And when the sort of twist here at the very end, that look that John Hannah gives is just, it's just deliciously evil. And interestingly enough, on the audio commentary, Stephen DeKnight said that they had to argue with the Starz executives over that decision, because the Starz executives were like, no, you can't reveal this till way later in the show. And they're like, no, we have to reveal it now. And they fought back and forth, and ultimately they got their way. But it wasn't even supposedly going to be revealed till way later on.
So you mean like that Batiatus did this? Like, so
yes.
Sura was going to die, but the Starz people wanted them to keep it a secret that Batiatus was the mastermind.
Yeah, and leave it towards the very end of the show, rather than, because we're like, what, 6 episodes in? We're halfway through. Yeah. Like, this is kind of like a mid-season finale, so to speak. But Stephen Knight was like, no, we have to reveal it now, because the next 6 episodes are going to be, everyone is going to be on pins and needles, like, how is Spartacus going to get his revenge on this guy? You have to hate Batiatus going forward. You must. So that was
I do.
Ronan, what do you think of this episode? You're quiet.
Well, you completely bypassed my, whether or not I thought that, the body, when did Batiatus decide to do this? Yeah, completely bypassed me. So thanks for that, there, Spartacus.
I mean, would you like the bypasses to continue? Because we can keep that up.
Go for it.
All right, I'm gonna give this a 10 out of 10. I love this episode. Ronan, feel free to speak. You are allowed.
Speak, slave.
Fuck you. No, I would say that I think Batiatus got the idea that he realized he was going to have to probably kill Sora, kill his wife. But probably, I would say the moment he realized, like, okay, yeah, he's too wild, he's too uncontrollable, I have to do this in order to keep him in line. My opinion is it was probably the minute that he fucked Naeus over to get the Primus. Like, that was probably when he realized, yeah, shit, like, if I do find his wife, I have to do this in order to keep him in line. At least that's how I always put it together when I was watching the show, is that, like, it didn't start as the plan, but once he realized he couldn't control Spartacus, it's that's probably when he realized, yeah, if the wife is here, he's just going to keep doing what he does to leave. So, like, that's always been the viewpoint that I had on it.
But Batiatus seems so genuine when he tells Xena that Spartacus's gratitude towards me will be enough.
Yeah, because he's a master liar as well, just like Xena.
Yeah.
It's a house of lies.
That's what liars do. They lie, and they lie well, because they do it all the time.
But he was in private with Xena, and Xena, who he loves. Like, this is not like a couple at odds with each other. Like, Batiatus and Xena love each other above all else, and there was no reason for Batiatus to lie to Xena at that point.
Not true, because he tells her, like, when she found out that, the kid died and all that, and she's super pissed off about it, he's like, I don't want you stained with any of this stuff that I'm doing. Like, he loves her. He doesn't want her involved in any of this stuff. So he's trying. He says he lies to protect her.
But Xena wants to be in the loop. I felt like he would love her enough to keep her in the loop.
Well, you feel wrong.
Apparently so. So then what? All right. So then what would be? All right. So he's keeping Xena out of the loop. What then is the purpose of bringing Xena into the loop afterwards?
To look better in her eyes, maybe. He didn't actually come out and say that. Oh, I orchestrated this
come
whole thing.
on,
He
she knows.
just. Oh, and I know she knows, but it's like one of those unspoken truths, right? It's like, oh, I kept my promise, and just kind of walk away, and it's like, oh, because. Think about it. Like, if you're Batiatus, you're an evil person, right? We've established now. Batiatus is an evil person. He's got to know that Lucretia is just as evil. So, someone in his position, you got to be watching your own wife sometimes. I know you love her, but it's like, maybe it's just a little jab. Like, look, you think, Lucretia, that you are so much smarter than me and that you kind of control this house basically in a way. You're the one always coming up with all the ideas and helping and stuff. It's like, actually, there's layers about me that even you have no fucking idea about, and how far I will go, so to speak. It could be something like that.
I think he gives her basically the wink and the gun, like the Roman equivalent of the wink and the gun there. Yeah, I think he more or less just does that just to let her know. It's like, yeah, you were right, we can't trust him, and I always knew we couldn't trust him. I think that was more or less that's all that was just like, yeah, I was listening to you. Here you go, baby. Yeah, that's I think that's really more or less all it was just like, yeah, you were right, and I always knew because he spoilers.
Yeah.
He knows everything that happens in that house. He knew that Spartacus fucked over Gnaeus. He knows what Lucy Lawless is doing with Crixus. He knows everything that happens.
Yep.
It's like the better question would be, do you think he knows that Asher fucked Barca over and is just kind of okay with it? Because that seems to be the only thing he doesn't know.
Yeah, I think he's in the dark on that. I think Asher is an even better manipulator than Batiatus.
I would agree with that. I'm in the same mindset, especially because there's another episode later on where a gladiator is killed over a finger quotes common slave, and he mentions the gladiator, he had value. There was years of coin sunk into his training. I can buy another slave for 5 coins. He's worth nothing. Barca had value. Barca was a very valuable slave. I don't think Batiatus would have easily tossed him aside if he didn't think he had to.
And I don't think he knew,
I agree
which
with
is
Steve.
why he told Asher, no, I need to look Barca in the eyes, and I got to see if he's lying to me here. So I agree. I don't think he knew what Asher was doing with Barca.
Yeah, so Asher's the only one in the show who seems to get one over on Batiatus, because otherwise he knows everything that's going on. Although I guess in fairness, he did not realize that Spartacus was plotting an escape. He just knew he was probably going to do it. He didn't realize it was actively in motion.
Yeah.
I think did we miss anything else important in this episode? There's a
The
scene
orgy.
where
I mean, come on now.
I mean, there's
The
a
wild
orgy,
sex
but
orgy?
it's irrelevant to the plot. Everyone got drunk as per Spartacus's plan.
This was the
the
most
only-
nudity in an episode yet, I think. I mean, there was a lot of nudity in this episode.
There is a character moment that happens that's not connected to the nudity and the orgy, but it's when Batiatus is like, well, I need to speak with Pietros because I want to talk with him first. Yeah, and he brings him up and he hands him a cup of wine and he takes a drink of it and tells him, it's like, oh yeah, this isn't that bullshit you're drinking. This is the good shit. Then he goes about his questioning, and once it's done, I like the fact there was just a subtle little thing how he just quickly takes the cup away from him. And
I noticed that. Our conversation is done. Give me the good wine back.
Yeah, give it to me. I like that little bit of character because you realize that Pietros didn't quite realize that was going to come either because he was going to try to take one more drink. Too late, yoink, is taken away from him.
The
Nice
other
little character
moment I wanted to bring up was Lucy Law. Batiatus is already ready to move on from Crixus. Spartacus is the new hot shit, and if Crixus lives, great, he can go back to being a gladiator. If he doesn't, Batiatus will live with it. But Xena goes down to where the Medicus is, and It's like, is he gonna make it? And should his eyes be open? Blah blah blah. Basically, tell me good things about Crixus. And the Medicus says, it's in the hands of the gods now. And Xena, like any sort of like goodness in her face goes away as she very sternly tells him, no, it's not in the gods' hands, it's in your hands. And if he dies, I'm gonna cut your fucking hands off.
So she clearly loves both men at this point, right? I mean,
yes.
Yeah.
The end.
There?
Okay.
Okay, yeah, it got really quiet there.
I didn't know what you wanted to say.
I have some fun facts about this episode. If you guys are ready to get to the fun facts.
Yeah.
So this episode, it was raining the entire episode. CG rain, real rain. There was a lot of real rain on it, and it completely flooded the entire set. And it was apparently a nightmare to film in, and Stephen DeKnight said that they would never have another episode of Spartacus in which it ever rains again, because it was such a nightmare to deal with. And it was actually Rob Tappert's, Lucy Lawless's husband, who wanted it to rain the whole episode, because they wanted it to feel, number one, visually different, and to just really emphasize the fact that Spartacus is the bringer of rain. So I thought that was kind of an interesting thing. The original story was not for Spartacus to kill Theocles to bring the rain. The original storyline was Batiatus was just going to build an aqueduct for the city. And Stephen DeKnight said, that's not exciting, that's stupid. Let's have him kill Theocles, and that'll be better.
Sounds bizarre.
And so,
you know what we don't want in our episode? Action. You know what we do want? Motherfucking aqueducts.
Yeah, let's build an aqueduct. I don't know. Maybe they're gonna make the slaves go out and build the aqueduct or something like the gladiators. I have no idea. Stephen DeKnight said it was always the plan for Sura to die. Even though they batted around some different ideas of maybe keeping her in the Ludus, he's like, he always thought that she was going to die. Barca dies this episode because at the time, obviously, this was the first season of the show before God's Arena. This was as long as they had the actor for. Like, that's why Barca's not in it a ton these first 6 episodes, but they basically are like, we don't have him for a full year to be able to do it. So that's why they had to kill him off. Okay, so there is this John Hannah sex scene in this. It's another one of these amazing sequences where Lucy Lawless is nude in this Roman bath, right? And all these naked slaves are washing her. And then John Hannah comes up, and they're having a conversation, and he just sort of like... takes the slave when Lucy Lawless is like, do this to the slave, please, and let me watch.
Yeah, let's not repeat that.
Yeah, I'm not going to repeat it. It's problematic, as Rachel says. It's very problematic what happens to the slave, let alone what Lucy Lawless requests. But according to Stephen DeKnight, 2 funny things from this scene. Number one, they had shot all of that stuff with Lucy Lawless, that side first. And they only had 15 minutes left in the day because I guess they were shooting in New Zealand, and New Zealand is like, hey, when you're done filming, like, there is no America where you run off until 3 o'clock in the morning. You're done at this time, and that's it. So that's why a lot of the stuff, they're just like, oh, we had to go as fast as can. So John Hannah was waiting around, and they came up to him, and they're like, you got 15 minutes to get this entire scene. And John Hannah was like, well, I guess this is a pretty good 15 minutes then. So John Hannah did this whole scene. That's one take. They didn't even, like, cut. So basically what they would do is they held it. They just made him do lines over and over, and they manually just basically move the camera and switch lenses on the fly in order to get what they needed. But that whole sequence with John Hannah is only 15 minutes. And Stephen DeKnight says that when this episode came out, there was apparently a minor uproar on the internet because the internet wanted to know who the slave was, because the internet thought the slave was so amazingly attractive that they needed to know who the actress was, and he thought that was pretty hilarious. Okay, the jiggle note. So this is one of the best stories here. So they received a jiggle note from the Starz executives. Now the director of this, Rick Jacobson, said that, initially Stars had been very hesitant on the amount of sex and nudity that the show was going to do. But as the episodes went on, they kept getting notes from the Stars executives saying, "I don't think you guys are going far enough with the sex. Like, we should have some more sex and nudity in this thing. We really like that now. Let's push the envelope, guys. Come on, get it done." And it's so they decided, Rick Jacobson's like, we had all these extras, and he pulled them all together. He's like, look, Stars wants to go above and beyond what we're doing. So he's like, get naked and do whatever freaky shit you want to do. We're going to get all of it. So they did all of this freaky shit. There's even a sequence where a woman, he's like, I told this extra, hey, I just want you to beep this guy in the beep with this spoon, right? And she's like, what? And he's like, yeah, just do it. And they were all like, yeah, we kept it in there. Well, Stars saw this episode, and a lot of this episode, I guess the orgy stuff had to be cut. It's put back into the Blu-ray edition, but they got a quote-unquote jiggle note, and the Stars executives were like, the sex is too vigorous. We're seeing too many things bouncing around, and they're like, it's getting too close to pornography now. So they were very happy that they were finally able to get the Stars people to sort of back then. They call it the ladle challenge. The girl with this guy, the ladle challenge. But too much vigorous jiggle is not what the Stars execs wanted.
Vigorous jiggle.
Vigorous jiggle. It's a good name for a band. So yeah, the other interesting thing from this is Stephen DeKnight is on this, and this is a fantastic audio commentary track, by the way. This is one of the best ones. And Stephen DeKnight at the very end of it, as the show's wrapping up, and he's like, yeah, I have a special place in my heart for the first couple episodes of the show. He's like, but I'm paraphrasing, but he's basically like, the show only started getting good at episode 4. It's like episode 4 on, which is what we all agree with too, which I think is interesting.
100%.
I like that the creator of the show can recognize, the first few episodes we were finding our way, but he's like, but once we got to episode 4, we never let up with the story and the scheming and the plotting and everything. And he's like, and it's
so
pretty
much
great.
Scheming. I'm dreading how hard it's going to be to talk about the rest of this series.
Yeah, so those are my notes from this one. I obviously I love this episode too. I feel like the question is not whether or not we're going to encounter a bad episode of Spartacus going forward. The question is going to be, will any be under a 10 out of 10 going forward? 'Cause it's just so good. I mean, layers upon layers with all of these various characters, and the thing about this is, like, obviously this is Spartacus's episode. I think this is the episode where they're like, we got to get the audience really on board Spartacus. He's going to start to lead, right? He's really be like, well, I don't want to be a slave anymore. Do you want to be a slave? Well, I think this is kind of where Spartacus starts. I think, like,
this
scheming somewhere in his mind.
Turning point.
Yes, turning point. That's what I'm looking for.
This from episode 1 to now, it was the story of how is Spartacus going to get his wife back, and that is concluded. The rest of the series is, what is Spartacus going to do about the events that transpired in this episode? And so many other characters start getting involved. Like, I'm pretty sure Alithia becomes much more involved in the show going forward. Numerius and Clavicus, the magistrate, they become bigger parts in this. And everyone has, like, suspicions about what actually took place on this night. Terrible things happen to Vero. Like, I feel like you can pretty comfortably divide Spartacus season 1 into, like, kind of season 1A and season 1B, and 1B starts next episode.
Yeah, and did either of you get the feeling, like, when I was rewatching this, I was like, man, I feel like it took a lot longer to get to this point, originally. It's like we're 6 episodes in and this major thing is already complete. I'm like, wow. It just felt like it was later in the season or took longer to get to.
I've been having
quick.
Things like that too, where I think, like, I remember that something happens in such and such episode, but it's not where it happened at. Like, for whatever reason, I had it in my head that the first time Spartacus yells, "I am Spartacus," is after killing Theocles, and obviously that does not happen.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
that's the other thing. Oh, sorry, Ron. Go ahead.
Yeah, I thought that I thought the Theocles thing. I forgot that was all tied up, all done in one episode. I thought there was like an episode of them training and building up for it, and then the next episode was when it happened. It's like nope,
Yeah.
it's all in one episode. So yeah, I'm having that too.
Yeah, the other interesting thing, just an interesting, maybe not a character moment, but just kind of an interesting moment for Spartacus himself, is he tells Vero during this episode, he's like, when my wife gets here, I want her to say my name, my real name, not this stupid one that the Romans gave me. And, you know, she's still alive. That's the other thing. When he pulls her out the back, she's still alive, and they have a moment there, but she dies before she can actually say his name, which is the one thing that he kind of wanted to hear. And I like how they set that up, because it's just like, going for it, you never know what his real name is. You never find out. So, interesting moment there. But, yeah, love it. Love the episode.
Fantastic episode. Fantastic.
Yep, solid banger.
Cool.
All right, we're going all in on this hand.
Oh, why do I keep doing?
I just made so much money though this one, Steve.
All right, if you guys are bitching out, it's fine.
I'll do it.
Are we doing it?
I'll do it.
Why do I let you people talk me into this?
I'll do it. Do it. I feel like Spartacus. I feel like it's gonna end poorly for me right now.
I already went all in. Why is it having me do it again?
All right. Will the rest of the table?
Come on.
Nope. He's folding.
Okay, one person didn't.
He's got 120,000 ships.
He can afford this.
He can afford it. Oh my gosh.
Jesus.
5 out of the 6.
All right. Oh.
Queen 3, Queen
oh,
Jack.
I don't like that. Oh, pocket pair. Pocket pair.
What a bunch of
Come on,
bullshit.
twos. Show me
can't win.
twos. Show me twos on the table. No. Oh, that queen is bad.
Oh,
Give me a
he's
two.
got
Give me a two.
The guy's got
Give
it.
me a two. Two. No, I need a two.
Fuck.
I need a two.
God
I need a
damn
two.
it. I hate
Yes!
You got the 2!
Yes!
Oh my god.
How much did I win anything?
I think
You
it's
had
a
to
split
afford-
pot.
You won
$74,000.
Oh my god. You suck. And with
Thank
that,
you,
ladies and
Spartacus.
gentlemen, we'll see you next week with episode 7. Fuck. Jupiter's cock.
I hate all of you.